Auto manufacturers in India have spent a sizable chunks of money over the past few years in a bid to host world-class manufacturing facilities. The idea was to make cars for Indians in India. After all, the economy was blooming and millions of our countrymen were successfully making the transition into the burgeoning middle class economy. The investment had to pay off and it did. Millions of cars rolled out from the factories and found their forever home somewhere in the country. However, over the past few years, domestic demand for the automobiles has plateaued. Companies can no longer undertake wet on expansion, and they most certainly aren't churning out cars like they used to. Capacity utilization has tumbled by around 30 to 40%. The facilities are being wasted away, and things haven't radically improved since the pandemic either. Bottom line, automakers are still bleeding cash. People continue to lose jobs, and the domestic demand hasn't bounced back as most people expected. So, what do you do now? You can't just let your factories rot, can you? You have to find ways to put them good use. And while it took companies a while to figure things out, it seems they're finally willing to try something different. The industry now believes they might have an alternative. They want to utilize their excess capacity to make cars for the overseas market. After all, we have great facilities, low labor cost, and we know there are plenty of countries that would buy Indian made vehicles, and if they were offered at a competitive price. Unfortunately, there is one just problem. Indian cars are different from cars overseas. Think of a traffic system that mandates drivers to stick to the left. If you're plying your car in these areas, then you would need to have a clear view of those trying to pass you on the right. And while it may be slightly inconvenient for the people to get out of the vehicle, it's still prudent to set up the steering system on the right side of the vehicle for safety reasons. But traffic systems aren't always designed this way. Some countries prefer to direct the flow of the traffic on the right side of the road. Why might be the case, you ask? Well, you have to go back in time to understand this anomaly. Britain, for instance, followed the Roman convention of preferring to direct traffic on the left side of the road, and this spread this ethos to their former colonies. So the likes of India, New Zealand, Australia have their steering system set up on the right. Napoleon, for instance, preferred the right side of the road. So they mandated the colonies adopt this alternative system. And as the British and the French tried to exert their influence over the globe, different regions began to adopt different traffic systems. But perhaps the biggest influencer here was Henry Ford. When his company introduced the Model T, the first mass-produced passenger vehicle, he preferred to put the steering system on the left. And so naturally, civilians in the US started playing. They have vehicles on the right for safety reasons. And today, this global split also reflects how the automobile manufacturing industry is divided. Left-hand drive vehicles account for almost 87% of the global passenger car market. This disproportionately large share of left-hand drive vehicles is partly because of China and US. The two largest automobile markets prefer their steering systems on the left. Meanwhile, India is a right-hand drive market. We make cars for the domestic population and export some vehicles to other right-hand drive markets including South Africa, Bhutan and Nepal. But to ship our vehicles to other lucrative left-hand drive markets, we need to make some big changes. We need to tweak the assembly lines, understand the safety requirements, emission standards, modify the design of the dashboard, configure components like the gearbox, clutch, brake, and the accelerator pedals. Most importantly, we need to understand these foreign markets. Sure, we're unlikely to make a dent exporting to the countries like US, But there's other markets in Africa and Latin America where affordability might be a key criterion. This could be the place to go. And it's not like that nobody has been trying this gambit either. Honda, for instance, began exporting the new Honda City model to the left-hand drive markets in the Middle East a while back. They even plan to export the sedan to more than 12 left-hand drive countries by 2021. So yeah, this whole export program might actually be a decent idea, especially if it takes a while before domestic demand truly bounces back. Thank you for listening to my podcast.